This is still breathtaking. And you know what? You're breathtaking! Taking a Keanu there, but...
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's open world, or more specifically open air as the Zelda team has coined it, is truly a wonder to behold. The variety of landscapes and climates correspond nearly to all of the ones found in our real world, though that is just surface level, as the beauty of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule lies in its depths as a sandbox experience. Hello there, Commonwealth Realm here, aka Conrad, and today we'll go deep into the world design of the era of the wild Hyrule. During our exploration of Nintendo's only true open world to date, we'll highlight what is absolutely sublime, namely the nearly complete freedom to discover and explore, but also enter territories where there's more to fill out and improve in the sequel. All I ask from you in return for this experience is to do a few free things. Leave us a like as we are going for 3,500 in this one, subscribe if you haven't already, and press the notification bell and again for all notifications as we have more videos like this one planned in the coming weeks and months. But now, let's travel to the beautiful world of Hyrule inside Breath of the Wild. Most modern open world games look stunning, with impressive landscapes, imposing structures and locations that are filled with activities. It is just that most of these worlds suffer from their decision of pointing you and even navigating you out to quests marked on the map, instead of leaving it up to you to discover them. All that, and very often being a look, but don't touch or interact with the world experience. Breath of the Wild's open world design is completely different. It is designed to be experimented with, as that is a part of the exploration and discovery of the world that is there to elevate a sense of seamlessness in a computer-constructed environment. Simply put, freedom. In Breath of the Wild, the world first tries to kill you in every conceivable way possible, but as you grow, you learn how to fully experiment with the Sheikah Slate to break the game's barriers. And sooner or later, you realize that with the power of physics and chemistry, you can truly rule this world. Post-apocalyptic Hyrule is also a world filled with different sorts of creatures, or more specifically 4 types. Animals to be hunted, enemies to be slaughtered and looted, ancient Sheikah guardians to destroy and farm parts from, and NPCs to aid, interact and communicate with. Though what is different from past Zelda games is that outside of divine beasts and some shrines you have complete choice, as we can engage into ongoing events or simply ignore them. The sophisticated enemy and some NPC AI, the interactivity with many of the world elements, the weather and temperature system, the physics engine, the surprising lack of barriers, and most of all, the blood moon, which makes the game endless. The organic life of the 8 meticulously crafted provinces of Hyrule makes it a world you want to explore, discover, and most of all live in, as the only way to survive in the long run is to cook and from time to time sleep. Exploring on foot or air is much more rewarding than on horseback, as it offers both ambush and stealth options. It is a world that responds to your expectations, but also challenges them by not telling you what to expect, which stands in stark contrast to games like all Ubisoft titles, and most CD Projekt Red titles as well. Hyrule is designed to be a mystery box that is going to please and challenge, and gradually you get all maneuverability you need to fully know and take advantage of the world through combat or avoiding these, which is often also encouraged through the breakable weapons, which is one of the few unbalanced features in the game. But also, it emphasizes the value of stealth, mining, swimming, sailing, riding, hunting, cooking, cutting down trees, climbing, gliding, and so on. It is a world that at first may feel empty, with little to no directions as to where to head next, and only a few settlements scattered around the massive map. Though that emptiness is a part of the game's beauty, design of the post-apocalyptic and overtaken by monsters and animals world, which lets us focus on what is in front of us out in the wild and see the world as one giant puzzle. Your goal is said settlement or tower, but between you and it is a dangerous stretch of wild land. The Zelda team has outlined this philosophy the following way. You see a place far out there on the horizon and set a goal to get there. Then you ask yourself, how will I get there? How long will it take for me to get there? Should I prepare some recipes, put on different clothing, or farm special weapons? And what will I do when I finally get there? This way, the game encourages shorter play sessions as you set your aim to reach and then complete tasks in a specific location of the open air. But on your way there, you might be distracted by other objectives like a Sheikah tower, enemy camps, overworld mini-bosses, treasure, mining spots, fish to collect, minigame spots, and the two most consuming side tasks in the game, Sheikah shrines and Korok seeds among others, or locating and paying the great fairies so that they can upgrade your clothing and armor. Speaking of clothing and armor, the set functions and set bonuses are some of the most genius uses of something as simple as armor, which in other games is mostly used for cosmetics and to strengthen your armor stats, and instead are used to excel and survive in Breath of the Wild. Some armor will help you withstand heat, others keep you alive from freezing to death, others again make you lightning proof, a faster climber, swimmer, a deadly warrior, and so on. The point is that even clothing is determined by the surrounding hazards, and that defines a brilliantly built up open world experience. No matter how you turn it, everything in this world and its gameplay is a giant puzzle that you can solve in any way you want all year round, and that is what makes Breath of the Wild's open air a masterclass in real-world realism and playability even after finishing the game, translated into a fully interactive experience which allows you to do anything meaningful and, best of all, with proper animations to show you that you're actually doing it in-game, not just combining it in a menu screen. Mountains are not just there to mask loading screens, they can be climbed and then glided from with the paraglider. And it doesn't end there, as when you enter settlements or stables, no door is closed. In fact, no corner or even surface is restricted from you, as you can enter and explore all buildings in the game and climb both its exterior and interior. Yes, even when the owners of said house are sleeping. You can even buy back your own house from over 100 years ago and renovate it before building an entire settlement from scratch. Freedom like this and interactivity with nearly all elements within the borders of this map make Hyrule feel realistic. Not only that, the world is never emptied, as you can replay nearly all enemy scenarios thanks to them being resurrected by the Blood Moon. One of the most genius mechanics which revives all of the overworld enemies and sends a loud and clear message that the only way to rid this land of its plagues is by defeating the final boss, Ganon. Where do we find the final boss? Naturally in the key landmark of the entire land, Hyrule Castle, which is placed in a spot which can be seen from most of the locations in the open world. This sort of open world design makes everything organic and is something that games from pretty much all star developers such as Ubisoft, Bethesda, Square Enix and CD Projekt Red don't have. Indeed, they create big, massive, impressive looking open worlds, but which fall apart when you try to experiment with them, both on a closer and more distant level. Zelda has in this regard set a new benchmark of immersion, and from so many different angles that it is so hard to replicate, that only one developer, Rockstar, has been able to rival it in a way. More specifically, through Red Dead Redemption 2, which is even more organic, only on a more personal and closer level. But more on that in a future video. But back to Breath of the Wild, since every item you pick up in this game has some purpose, whether for upgrading your clothes, building, cooking, setting up a bonfire, and so on. It is an example of what you get when a development team really cares about their craft and are granted the time and resources to realize their vision of recreating real-world realism and physics. Cutting down a tree in order to get wood, mining rocks for precious stones, hunting to feed oneself, only that you don't really need to hunt as the most powerful recipes in the game don't even require meat. All of these are brief examples of how an open world should not only be big to explore, but also feel realistic to our own world. In other words, grant new levels of immersion and allow you to make invisible choices, which at the same time alters the gameplay experience. When we set fire to grass, it burns and generates heat, which allows us to glide up with our paraglider. When we roll a small snowball downhill, it grows bigger, and that is the thing about the world of Breath of the Wild. It is sizable, but it doesn't sacrifice that size to what we consider to be logical, realistic, and most of all organic. The world has depth, and most of all is built for one thing: experimentation with its physics engine, which is a prime example of the most human thing in the world: curiosity of the unknown, finding our own solutions, and taking an alternative to the beaten track. A path that leads to innovative thinking, and that we achieve a sense of accomplishment just by doing things differently than it is initially intended. And that reminds me a lot of what I was doing while exploring Kyoto alone before E3 in 2019, walking my own paths, deciding first to go to one location and then end up in a completely different one. This path brought me through narrow streets with multiple paths, a crowded temple, and a so touristy path that I decided to take a detour and walk the mountain route to a different landmarks. Afterwards, I walked down a long path filled with hazardous cars to get back to the city and get some mouth-watering ramen before heading for a different temple. And in many ways, this type of exploration is what the Zelda team had in mind when creating the open air, taking exactly the Kyoto I just exemplified, their home city, as the blueprint that made Breath of the Wild's Hyrule so unique to other video game worlds, both in terms of variety and gameplay. A full miniature world or garden, as the Zelda team also likes to call Breath of the Wild's open air, as walls are no obstacles unless they're ancient Sheikah walls, and the sky is your private floating space. The open world, and with this one the physics and chemistry engine, was a realization of a vision that had been established over 30 years prior, to explore a world without any restrictions if you could conquer the challenges thrown at you. And this, more than anything else, explains why the Zelda team, before making the open world blueprint of the Nintendo HD era, made a physics-based 8-bit recreation of the original Zelda from 1986 to test out the many of the physics and organic-based mechanics and puzzles they wanted to include in the map, that was modeled after the landscapes of Kyoto. The more I think of it, running around Kyoto was much like running around in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, a one-of-a-kind experience with endless possibilities, and the opportunity to relive these as long as you have the will, energy, stamina, and obviously financial resources. And it is much like that in Breath of the Wild as well, only that you can experience the same I have experienced for $60 if you own a Nintendo Switch, and for another $60 get the sequel that will hopefully build upon, since Red Dead Redemption 2 has shown a path to enrich this world even more, but still less than areas that the Zelda team rather deliberately left unused in the western, southern, and eastern corners of the land. Well, that and the underwater. Multiple provinces that are waiting to be more prominent, and more new boundaries like the underwater and underground outside of the mechanical Sheikah shrines that await to be explored and experimented with. Luckily, the sequel is going to expand, add to, and take advantage of the best of this open world masterclass. And we'll also dedicate more videos to this subject. So until then, I hope you can leave a like and share this video, subscribe as it really helps the channel grow, and press the notification bell again for all notifications to not miss more videos like this one. Finally, a big thanks goes to all our great patreon.com/commonrealm patrons that you see on the screen, including our royal producer Charles Shash. You are the best. And to all of you, please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.